Boat vacations are amazing, but what if you don't own a boat? Or what if you have one, but it's too far away from somewhere you've always wanted to check out? Historically, the main option was just renting a houseboat. But now, there's a new kid on the block, based right here in Smiths Falls, Ontario. I am here with Sandy Crothers, base manager with Houseboat. If you haven't heard of Houseboat, then you probably haven't been to Europe because they've been there for what, 40 years?
40 years plus.
Here on the Rideau Canal, this is Houseboat's first non-European spot, right?
It is the first to stop in North America, and they will have other stops in Canada and in North America. And they have 900 boats plus in Europe, 38 bases in 9 countries. They are custom made for Houseboat by Delphia in Poland, and we have 2 models here, a 37-foot boat and a 44-foot boat, sleeping up to 10 people on the larger boat right now. This boat has a bow thruster and a stern thruster, and is a single propeller, and we teach you how to use all that.
Pretty straightforward, intuitive kind of thing, right?
It is. We show you the initial aspects of it, and we come through a lock with you if you need to, and docking and undocking and starting off. We advertise you don't need experience.
Not at all? You could be a newbie and handle this?
You can be a newbie and handle this. If you rent a boat, any kind of boat, Sea-Doo, sailboat, powerboat, that company initiates you with a safety checklist and a trial run to make sure you're comfortable with it, and you sign off on that, and that is your boater's card for your charter.
I came here to tell all of these fine folks about this boat. But now I'm hooked. I'm not okay with this like half-day ride. I want to come and experience it. I know you guys are filling up really quick. You got any room for us?
Come access September. I'm sure we can hook you up and have a great time.
Okay, witnesses, it's gonna happen. You have to do it now.
Well done.
True to their word, 3 months later, there was a boat available, so I recruited a few fellow Houseboat testers. My mother, stepfather, wife, and our 2-year-old son, who will join me as we head out to explore a section of the Rideau. First impressions on board are impressive. Nice boat! This is no dingy old houseboat. This is a quality cruiser. From the full-size sliding glass doors at the stern, all the way around, there's lots of natural light in the main salon. There are 2 fridges, and the drawers are already stocked with dishes and cutlery, so no need to bring your own or buy paper plates. And you can make proper meals here, thanks to the 4-element propane stovetop and the oven underneath. Of course, you've also got a microwave, and there's plenty of counter space. Up on the bridge, there's wraparound seating towards the stern with a large table. There's a sun pad with pop-up backrests along the centerline just in front of the helm, and the backrest on the benches midship flip forward for rear-facing seating. Also up here is a barbecue hot plate, more of a griddle than a grill. The Horizon 4 can be a 3 or 4 bedroom layout, the option being the bow can be 1 big room or split into 2. And every room has a private ensuite bathroom with shower, which is a nice luxurious touch. Linens, pillows, and small towels are on board. You'll need to bring your own beach towels though. Now that we're all settled in, we have the choice of heading north towards Ottawa or south towards Kingston, which is what we opted for. A short lift at the detached lock station, and we're out of Smiths Falls Basin and on our way. From here, there's a winding but well-marked channel that plunges you into the solitude of nature. And with these boats being speed controlled, you're in no worries of breaking the 10 km/h limit. Finding one of these flat-as-glass patches of water now seemed like as good a time as any to pass off controls to my stepfather, Liam, aka Papa. Heading to our second lock, there's a very narrow channel, which could be a little intimidating if you had oncoming traffic. And once we arrived at the next lock, Liam relinquishes control to the rightful captain. Lock 32, Punamali, was first built in the 1830s. It's a manually operated lock with just a short lift of about 1.6 meters or just over 5 feet. And then, weaving a few more nautical miles, you come out into Lower Rideau Lake. The bow bench is a great spot to take in the sights or take some stellar video.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wilson Cam.
Say cheese.
Say cheese, you're on Wilson Cam.
Daddy say cheese.
Cheese.
Back on board our Houseboat Horizon 4, we're in the middle of Lower Rideau Lake, as we wind our way along a relatively short stretch of the Rideau Canal, which, all totaled, runs 202 kilometers from Kingston to Ottawa.
It's a beautiful place. So the Rideau Canal was constructed between 1826 and 1832. It was the brainchild of Lieutenant Colonel John By. The idea was to create a trade route that would be safe from the more exposed areas such as the St. Lawrence or the Ottawa River. This was on the heels of the War of 1812, so there was a concern about additional warfare or invasion. So this was a strategic military transport route originally, but it was never used as such. This is our 186th season, and it is the longest continuously operating canal in North America.
That history is why it's officially called the Rideau Canal National Historic Site, one that was designated a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 2007. Not simply a ditch dug from A to B, this utilized existing waterways as much as possible. So along your journey, you'll find yourself in large, winding rivers, in a few good-sized lakes, through well-marked channels, and yes, through a few man-made cuts and canals. But the locks are 100% legit. These are no recreations. This is as preserved as you'll find. Want proof? Well, just look closely at the walls.
And when you see the canal lock stations, you'll note that the masonry is slightly different at each lock station. And that's because the plans from the masons were deployed to the lock stations, and each person who was in charge of a lock station would interpret the plan. So there's a slight difference in each of the lock stations, very unique.
There's also a variety of stops along the way, and one that is hugely popular with LeBoaters is lunch at CC's on the Rideau, right at the main bridge in Rideau Ferry. They have a few private docks, and with bow and stern thrusters, getting in is a breeze. It can be a busy spot, but the patio is quite large, so finding a table should not be a problem. It's also a good stop for supplies because just beside CC's is a small store, which sells ice and things you would need ice for. Stocked up, we're back on the water again and heading southwest, away from Rideau Ferry, where we enter Big Rideau Lake, the largest anywhere along the entire waterway. Meanwhile, down below, fueled by pizza, there's a mutiny afoot. The controls down here are deactivated when you have them set to work up top, so we're actually safe, unless Captain Wilson seizes total control. In 1830, Colonel By built a dam, which created a new lake, Upper Rideau Lake. And to get into that, you've got to traverse Lock 35, the Narrows. At the western end of the man-made lake is the village of Westport, our first overnight stop. Thanks to an agreement with LeBoat, the mooring fee is taken care of, as are all the lockage fees, actually. Nice to not have to have those little expenses to add on. And thanks to a free shuttle, you can get to a local winery. One that, when the sun hits it late in the day, looks straight out of France or Tuscany. This is the Shireman Vineyard and Winery, and doing a tasting is a must. Family owned and operated, they have their kids helping out. And with a wood-fired pizza oven, there's always a little excitement in the air. A little dough humor for you right there. The wine was great, and the food was amazing. And thanks to their shuttles, you can get to and from easily and safely. Back at the dock, we see we have a new Le Neighbor, but with an early start ahead of us, no time to socialize. After a quick breakfast on board, we cast off on another sunny day, this time en route to Newboro. Kids aren't allowed to drive, but Wilson has grown up on boats, and at the very least, can help navigate. Which is good, because you've got to keep watch for the green markers and keep well north of a small island before turning south. It's a little over 4 nautical miles from the docks at Westport to the entry of the 1.5 kilometer long channel. This was cut to link Upper Rideau Lake and Newboro Lake, and this marks the divide between the Rideau River watershed and the Cataraqui River shed. Being man-made, gets a little narrow in one section, but there's lots of depth for these boats here. This also means it's the high point of the system. Water flows down towards Ottawa and Kingston from here, which means the red right returning we had on our way is now red to port. But that navigational detail, important as it may be, will wait until tomorrow, because this is home for the night and the perfect place to test out my son's new fishing rod. On that very successful note, we'll call it a day in yet another peaceful location, but with virtually all the amenities of a hotel. You get to experience Parks Canada beauty without having to actually camp in a park. To me, that is a huge bonus. We still have a lot more to see, so we'll continue this journey next week. Welcome back to the Rideau Canal National Historic Site. We're exploring a section of it on a Houseboat Horizon 4, one of more than a dozen boats the European-based rental company has here at its first non-European destination in half a century. 2019 marks Houseboat's 50th anniversary, and that's a long time for sure. But it's just a baby compared to the Rideau Canal itself, which dates back to the early 1800s.
We run 202 kilometers between Kingston, the old capital of Canada, and Ottawa, our present capital of Canada, which is a wonderful thing. And along the way, you can see a series of lakes, so it's a very sort of natural history and inheritance, and a series of small towns.
One of those small towns is Smiths Falls. It's home to the headquarters of both the Rideau Canal and Houseboat. In fact, Houseboat has set up shop in the old Lockmaster's house at Lock 29, open the Friday of the Victoria Day long weekend, and closing at end of day on Thanksgiving Monday. The Rideau Canal is full of history you can see and experience firsthand at the locks.
These are the originals. Everything that you see on the canal, the crabs, the way that it's done in terms of cranked by hands, the way people are locked through, is exactly the same way that it was accomplished in 1832. So this is as preserved as it can be, save for 3 lock stations, which are mechanized. They are all operated by hand, and it's really living history.
There are 47 locks at 24 lock stations, and just 3 that were electrified, including Lock 36 at Newboro, which got the update in 1966. But then, the decision was made to preserve the historical aspect of the canal, so further mechanization stopped. And in 2007, the entire system became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Newboro is a popular spot for overnighting, as you have washrooms, barbecue grills, power, and water, but it's also busy. And it marks the exit from the Rideau River system that flows towards Ottawa, and your entry into the Cataraqui system, which flows towards Kingston. With my family joining me on this journey, we turn to starboard to continue southwest through smaller lakes. It's also a good time for breakfast. Here you'll wind your way through islands and a couple of narrow cuts, though all are well marked. Elbow Channel cuts you south just below Goat Island, out of Newboro Lake and into Clear Lake. Then, just a half nautical mile south of that, you're at a shorter but even more unique channel because it has a single car ferry giving access to Scott Island. It's connected by an underwater chain, so don't cut too close behind if the ferry is still crossing. Once through, you're in yet another body of water, Indian Lake. And for us, it was as picture-perfectly serene as a day you'll find anywhere on the water. Cruising under the former rail line, now the Cataraqui Trail, you enter one of the few man-made sections of the waterway. Only 19 of the 202 kilometers were man-made dugout canals. The rest utilized existing rivers and lakes. This canal is very populated, compared to many other areas, and it has some vital services here too. And back in here is the site of Lock Station 37, Chaffey's Lock. Along with the lock itself, a dam was built, raising the levels of Indian and Newboro lakes. Before going through, we're going to tie up and check out a must-visit destination here.
Oh yeah, yes guy.
A short walk from the lock, across the street actually, is the entrance to the historic Opinnakan Resort that boaters are welcome to check out. A very kind lady showed us where the ice cream shop was and then told us Wilson would love it if we continued further onto the grounds. Obviously, she's a mother and knows what makes a kid's vacation amazing. The playground is open to the public, and as it turns out, that lovely woman we met is actually the lovely owner of the Opinnakan, and she's done a ton of improvements. We'll show more about her labor of love and how boaters can take advantage of them later in the show. About 50 kilometers north of Kingston is Chaffey's Lock, and here you'll find the historic Opinnakan Resort. Built in the 1870s as a private residence, in 1921 it became the Opinnakan Club, and began welcoming visitors, many of whom were drawn to the great fishing. For the next 90 years, it was run by the same family. But over the years, things fell into disrepair, and in 2012, the resort closed. And that's where Fiona McKean comes in, buying it at auction with her husband.
So my connection with the place, I had a cottage close by. As a kid, I'd come up and blow all of my allowance on ice cream. So that was the draw here. And as I got older, we'd come for dinner if you were allowed in. So the previous owners, the dining room wasn't a restaurant. It's more like Dirty Dancing, where house guests would eat communally. I always call this place kind of like Group of Seven meets Dirty Dancing. It's very Canadiana.
It was a living time capsule, and that's something she didn't want to lose just by rebuilding new structures. Instead, it's all been redone from the cottages to the main building.
It was shabby chic kind of falling around you, but it was comforting and warm and hospitable. And that's what I've tried to save the most. It is comfortable, it is warm and inviting, and there's a ton of hospitality. As much as I've had to change the interiors just structurally because it was falling over, it should feel familiar when you come in. If not in looks, at least in feeling.
This is roughly halfway between Smiths Falls and Kingston, and for us, where we'll turn around and head back. But first, the only maintenance you need to worry about while traveling is making sure the strainers are clear. There can be some weedy sections, and that gets sucked up by the intake, but it's simple and easy to clear it out. Chaffey's Lock is one of many that has a swing bridge. Every boat can get under it, but to demonstrate how it works, they put it in action for us. And like the locks, these are all done by hand as well. Cleverly designed to require almost no manpower. The magic of physics then propels you up about 3 meters or 10 feet and back into the man-made channel. Underway, you're at your own pace on a trip like this, which is nice. But you do need to keep an eye on the clock for the last lockages, as you need to arrive about 30 minutes before so you can get through it. After a super hot start to our journey a few days ago, cold front is pushed in and it's downright unbearable up top. Luckily, there's that second helm station down below. Good to know you have it on cold days like today. The beauty of a waterway like this is that it's not a boring highway. You have detours and options. And when back on Lower Rideau Lake, we veer north. Here there are 2 locks, Upper and Lower Beverages, that grant you access to the Tay Canal that runs all the way to the town of Perth. Or, like us, you can work your way up to the top of the second lock and tie up here. Thanks to the boat having kayaks, as well as bikes and stand-up paddleboards you can add onto your boat, I decided this was a great time and location to introduce my son to paddling. You'll note the cold weather has not let up, but we are no fair weather adventurers. Cold weather be damned, we're doing this. As a major storm was due to hit overnight, we decided it was best to race back towards Smiths Falls. Still overcast, but warming up, we're back out onto Lower Rideau Lake and working our way back through the final 2 locks to get back to base. All in, we did just under 65 nautical miles, around 115 kilometers, and experienced the biggest lake on the system, some of the narrowest channels, rivers, and man-made canals. Not bad for just a few days. For us and our trip, we're back in Smiths Falls. We've docked our boat alongside all its brothers and sisters here in the LeBoat Basin. If you want to check it out, they're actually expanding their fleet for 2019. They're going to have some larger models. And whether or not you're out on LeBoat or out on a kayak, you should check out the Rideau Canal from the old capital of Kingston to the new capital of Ottawa. It is a gem of Canadian boating.